Okay, well, I think we will start. My name is Ronnie Sahlberg. I work at RedHat, and I'm here to present Libsmb2, which is not exactly new, but it's kind of fully featured now. It's a Userspace SMB2 client for pretty much any and every platform. It runs on virtually everything you can imagine, as long as you have a basic libc. No, not the fancy glibc with everything, but just a basic like System 5 libc. That's pretty much the only requirement to get it to run. And you need a couple of 100 kilobytes of memory as well. So hopefully you can run it on your IoT devices. So let's see. Legal, blah, blah, blah. My opinions here have nothing to do with Red Hat's opinion, so don't draw any conclusions. Anything I say is just my rambling, and don't put any blame on anyone else. Also, this is a personal project. It's not a Red Hat project. Any complaints if you think that the code is ugly, the functionality is poor, and just the project is bad overall, that doesn't reflect to.
So this means you will take over the world very soon.
Yeah.
Like many
yeah.
Red Hat projects.
Yeah. Yeah. So any blames if you criticize the project or just think it is overall bad, all that blame goes to me, no one else. So who am I? Ronnie Sahlberg. I work at Red Hat. I worked with network storage for a long time. I think most of you guys know me. I worked a lot with Wireshark, Samba. I did the initial design of CTDB, or the clustering component for Samba. I've written an NFS client for Userspace, written an iSCSI client for Userspace, as well as a SCSI test suite. And now we have Libsmb2. This talk, I will talk about Libsmb2, what it is, and why you should use it. So I'm basically trying to sell this little utility to you, or get you interested in it, because your applications will be much better if you use this. We'll look at some of the main features, look at some of the code, and run some quick demos. And at least some of you, I hope I can tempt to at least try to put this in your application. It would be really cool if one of you guys would write a small application to a smartwatch to read and write files to Microsoft's cloud. That would be pretty sweet. What is it? Libsmb2. It's a very small footprint, SMB2 and 3 client. There's no legacy code, so I'm not imprisoned by having to support SMB1 or all this weird, ugly stuff in earlier dialects. It supports a subset of SMB2. It's not intended to be a full-blown SMB2 client at all. At least that's not my aim. So if someone has a different idea, just send me patches, but I'm not going to do it. It is very highly portable. It builds and runs on pretty much everything: Windows natively, Linux, BSD, Mac, iOS, Android, including some microcontrollers that don't technically even have an operating system. But as I said, as long as you have say a ancient libc available, as long as you have Berkeley sockets, that's all you need. It even builds, and that was pretty cool, with, I think it's called UWP, is it a container thing that makes it possible to run this app either on a Windows desktop or an Xbox. So very briefly, one of my users actually had an application on the is it called the Xbox store, which actually could talk SMB2 to servers. And it was a media player, so it didn't really take very long for people to discourage the use of it, so it disappeared from the store. But it was there for a little while, and I thought that was cool. Obviously, this also means that if you build an application and you want to target multiple different platforms, you can have the same code base across every single platform you ship. You don't have to pick different libraries or APIs depending on what is available on your particular platform. It's fast, as I also mentioned several times. It has no other dependencies than a basic Libc. So you don't need to go through and try to find hundreds of different shared libraries or anything to get it to run, except for MIT Kerberos. If you want to have authentication to Active Directory, then you need to link it with the Kerberos libraries. Unfortunately, as it looks like I have to write a Kerberos client as well to get rid of that. It's really ugly to have dependencies on that. It also makes it, yes?
Does it mean you actually did write NTLM?
I'm sorry?
So you said you didn't write Kerberos, but did you write NTLM?
Yes. I wrote my own NTLM SSP implementation as well, using the very, very excellent documentation that Microsoft has on it. Unfortunately, oh man, yes. You guys from Microsoft, you can take a picture of me and put it on a wall and just see. When you find a bug in the documentation or test vectors, don't be this guy, because I did find a bug in some of the test vectors, and so yeah, I'll write something up later, and then a couple of weeks later, when you are reminded that, oh yeah, I don't really actually remember what the bug was. So there was one. It was basically one of the test vectors or blobs were actually not the blob that the vector said it was. It was wrapped inside another blob. But don't be me. Try to report it properly. One of the big features of it, I think, it is zero copy, so that if your application, when your application is doing reads, so large reads, it will read directly from, or the payload, it will read the payload directly from the socket into the application buffer. It's not technically zero copy because there is a copy in the kernel, but at least in the application, the user space, there is no copy, which helps immensely for constrained devices like Raspberry Pi Model A that has very, let's say, crippled memory bandwidth, where something like this will make the difference on whether or not you can stream 4K content to a media player. Except for encryption, when it comes to SMB3 encryption, I actually do read it through a buffer and do a mem copy. It would be possible to avoid that, actually, to read the payload directly into the user space and then decrypt it there, but it's a lot of work and I just haven't gotten around to it. Also, when it comes to SMB3 encryption, you are probably not going to use that on the very, very constrained devices where the extra mem copy will actually have a significant performance impact. License, LGPL v2.1 or later, which means that it is friendly to be used for all open source licenses, including GPL v2. Right, Jeremy? It's also friendly if you want to use it in your commercial applications. It's friendly to be used as well on all the various different app stores. Now, of course, that's my understanding. I'm not a lawyer, so I can't really give legal opinions on licenses, but my amateur understanding of the license is that it should be, but talk to your lawyers first. I'm not going to go after you anyway, but yeah, don't make business decisions on what a random person on the internet says. If you have a problem with the license, talk to me and we can work something out. I've had to do a lot of work with regarding the license in the past because, as it turns out, OpenSSL provides all the crypto primitives that you might need, but it's not entirely compatible with LGPL or some of my important users, which gets pretty boring because one by one you have to get rid of dependencies and rewrite the code yourself. But if you didn't write the code yourself, how do you know it actually works? It's event-driven, and this is a hot topic, really. I'm not a big fan of multi-threading. I think multi-threading is flawed. It's fully event-driven. However, since everything is completely non-blocking, if you need it in a multi-threaded environment, it is absolutely trivial to wrap all these calls inside a mutex, and it will just work. I'm not putting these mutexes in the library as well because there might be some really ancient microcontroller with a really ancient Libc that don't have proper semaphores or mutexes. And also, since I personally think that multi-threading is a flawed concept, I'm not spending time on it, but patch is welcome. As my other projects, it has a very simple API to plug into your event system. You have a function call to get the current file descriptor that is used, a function call to get which events, or basically poll in or poll out, to wait for, and if any of the events happened, you have a service function to call to tell the library to do whatever needs to be done. Okay, speed up. Oh, no. This is what a simple event API would look like, but probably you have in your application a real event system where that you can pop this into. Yes?
So I have to query each time what events you're interested in. I mean, other libraries have a callback to me when things change.
So Volker was asking, do I have to query which events to wait for every time? Yes, you do. And I know that you don't like it, but I just haven't. And I know you want the callback to do it, but I just haven't implemented that yet.
Okay.
It would not be terribly hard to implement, but I haven't. I'm lazy and I'm a poor engineer that way. We have a couple of different APIs to use. The one that I recommend everyone should use it's a high-level, fully asynchronous and non-blocking API with POSIX-like functions. So you have an asynchronous function for open that takes all the normal flags like oCreate, oTrunk, etc. And also a callback function for when it completes. That is the API I think that everyone should be using because it's event-driven, it's efficient, and it makes your code run really, really fast. I do, for convenience, also provide a high-level synchronous API with the same POSIX-like functions, but they are blocking and they work like the normal OpenWid. So no callbacks or anything like that, but yeah, I'm not a big fan of that. As I said, I like event-driven designs. Everything else is flawed. Additionally, there is a low-level asynchronous API that provides just access to the raw SMB2 PDUs, where you can create an SMB2 create or an SMB2 query info, etc., and just provide whatever you want to send to the server. It might be useful, but you probably don't want to use that API either because it's probably too low level. We skip that one. One of the concepts I have to specify resources and also arguments or parameters on how to control the sessions is a URL syntax that I use. SMB : / domain optional, username optional, server, and also we can specify a port in case your SMB2 server runs on something different than 445. Maybe, for example, your SMB server sits behind the reverse NAT router. Yes?
You realize there was a standard, a proposed standard, an RFC draft for the SMB URL format.
So Christoph said that there was a proposed standard for it. Yeah, well, why follow the standard when you can invent your own? Mine is better because I came up with it.
I figured that
yeah. I also specify a set of arguments. Normal, same format that you have for HTTP, where you can specify things like for Libsmb2, there's an argument called seal that you can guess what it does. You can specify which version of SMB2 or 3 that you want it to use. I do not and will not support specifying the actual password in the URL on the command line, because that will eventually end up either in a log file or it will end up in the PS or top output. So that will never, ever happen, even if a lot of users ask for it. So that's just the way it is. You can specify the password either via a file or via an API. Authentication supports guest and anonymous. There is a very basic built-in NTLM SSP authentication module. I couldn't find any existing NTLM implementations that had a suitable license, so I had to write it. It took a couple of days, but at least I have something that works. It can do Kerberos, but that is if and only if you link with the MIT Kerberos libraries. That's the only external dependency that we have this far. I think I need to write at some stage my own Kerberos client just to get rid of this dependency. Yes, Jeremy?
So I think you get away with, you don't have to write the whole KNet stuff. You could get away with being past, you've got that NTLM file, you could have a curve file that's just pointing at the pre-existing ticket that someone has copied. That's probably the way you want to do it. You don't need to initiate.
Repeat the question.
Yeah. So Jeremy said that, well, I wouldn't have to implement a full Kerberos client. I could depend on Kinit or something similar, getting the blob first. You don't have Kinit if you don't have an operating system. So that's That.
You could start with that.
Okay.
Work up from there.
And Jamie said I could start from there. Yeah, but still, the interesting, if you want to have a full-blown modern SMB client that is fully supported and well-maintained, Samba has a full-featured one already available. If you have a modern OS, a modern Libc, and run it on a normal computer, well, you shouldn't, this is not for you. Use the one that Samba shipped with the package for your platform. You use that one. It's fully featured, it's fast, it's well maintained, and has no bugs at all. But if your budget is that you have a couple of 100 kilobytes of memory and you still need to be able to read and write to, say, Microsoft Cloud, well, you're not going to get Libsmb client in that. Where we talk about tens of megabytes, or am I optimistic? Crypto used to link with OpenSSL, but that was not a good idea because of license. So we have our own crypto that comes together with Libsmb2. I didn't write all of it myself, but reused existing ones that had suitable licenses. Signing, SMB2 and SMB3 signing is supported. Encryption, SMB3 encryption is supported. Right now, though, it's only AES 128 CCM, not GCM. I'm not sure whether it would make sense to implement GCM here because since I want to be able to run on a microcontroller, I don't have vector instructions or anything, so everything will have to be very, very basic C code. There's no SSE3 or AltiVec on the targets that I aim at. So I haven't looked at it, but I would suspect that the big gain from GCM would be because of the use of vector instructions. But I have no idea. I'm just guessing right now. It would not be hard to add, and it would not make the library very much bigger either. CCM takes about 2 kilobytes of object code to implement. I would imagine GCM would be something similar. So I can run a quick little demo. Okay. This is an example utility to list the files on a share. Here, since I'm running on a platform that has get login, I actually automatically pick up and use my username. Can we see that? If you have get login, well, this happens automatically. If you don't have an operating system or you don't have get login, then you have to provide the username you want to use programmatically. There is a function SMB2 set user, where you can tell the library which username it should use for authentication. Do you have those in Libsmb client? So you support platforms that don't even have an operating system?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And as an example, I can show, we can run it again. Now I specify a URL argument here, seal. And we'll see, I get the listing, but everything is encrypted. This should, in theory, allow you to access Microsoft Azure. How is it pronounced? Azure. Okay. It's hard for me. I would know how it would be pronounced in Swedish, but since I never hear it pronounced, I don't know how it's spelled.
Usually Z is stronger.
Azure. 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 Anyway, it's called Microsoft Cloud. That's.
You realize that if you're Australian, you pronounce it differently.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not let's not do that. So DCRPC. I have a rudimentary DCRPC runtime. It's very, very limited. It does support NDR32 and NDR64 though, but it only supports named pipes on IPC $ as the transport. It's not aimed to be a general purpose DCRPC implementation at all or runtime at all. It's really only there to provide access so that I can do share enumerations. So.
So Ronnie, on the share example,
Yeah.
on
Yes,
the
sir.
share enumeration example, one of the, take SMB2, for example. If we added SMB2 share enumeration, is it easier to call Samba library or your library?
Can you repeat? I don't understand the question.
Yeah, so there are two questions that come up a lot, right? In share enumeration, people like to work on their existing mounted credentials, right? So if you mount it, you don't want to have to put your password in again.
Okay.
So one of the things we've talked about is like in SMB2, being able to enumerate shares, but using credentials you've already entered in. So let's say SMB2 lists shares, right? If you wanted to do that, would it be easier to use the Samba library or your library? Trying to avoid re-entering credentials.
In general, so Steve's question was for adding share enumeration to the SMB info tool, would it be easier to use the Samba library or this library? That would probably be easier to use the Samba library because that is actually shipped on all distributions. This is not shipped on any distribution. Though it is so small, so you technically you could just unconditionally build this into the SMB info. So if we can remove the seal, we can run it again, and we see. So here we have bind. Normal, we can bind to it. We can call the service. We can enumerate the shares. This is actually, sorry, Volker.
Probably you expose IO control read-write, so in theory you could use this as a named pipe transport for the Samba libraries, right? In theory.
Yeah. So Volker said since I exposed these functions, you could use this as a transport for other things. Yes, sure. Here was one annoying thing I found on OS X servers. While it does support IOCTL as the actual transport for the DCRPC, I use IOCTL because you do the RPC request and response in a single round trip, as compared that if you first write to the file and then read to that. That is the more traditional way. But here you can do one round trip for the call. For some unknown reason, I'll talk to the Apple people later. The response you get back from OS X on this call is actually a train. It's a blob, but it's a train of a number of 256 byte fragments. So if you have a lot of shares and the response is, say, a kilobyte in size, the response buffer in the ioctl reply is actually 4 individual DCE-RPC fragments of 256 bytes each. So unfortunately, I have to do a fragment reassembly, which means I have to do a malloc and you have a reassembly buffer, which is very, very annoying. That's very, very sad, but what can you do? At least it works. Oh, I don't have an IDL compiler, but most of these functions are so easy to implement so that it's not a big pain point to just do them by hand. And at the end of the day, the only one that is really important and anyway is that share enum. You write that one once and then you don't really need anything else from DCE-RPC. It would be really, really nice if there was an info level in SMB2 where you could do a query info for file system and say, give me a list of all the shares. So I could avoid the DCE-RPC completely, but yes, Steve?
Well, you've got a server developer there, and you can do an
Yes.
SSCTL that's Samba specific and add it in.
Yeah, but what about all the other servers? That's the problem.
Well, that's not Jay. We'll be talking later today.
Yeah.
And then I've heard about this guy from Australia
Yeah.
who's talking about a server.
Yeah. I'll show a little bit what the code can look like. So for example, if we look at this function, net share enum all, it wouldn't be very hard to write an IDL compiler if one has an absolute need for it. The runtime itself is complete enough that most of the NDR constructs are working. So it has all the scalars in there. It even has an implementation, as we can see from encoding pointers. Well, it would have been nice if I hadn't had to write DCE-RPC runtime, but I need to be able to enumerate shares, and that's just the way it is, unfortunately. Okay, so let's see. Is there start from current slide? Amazing. Yeah. Of course, it is possible to extend it to become a full-blown and useful DCE-RPC implementation, but if you want full-blown DCE-RPC, use Libsmb SMB client, use Samba. It has all the toolings that you need. It has already implementation of all the meaningful DCE-RPC interfaces that you need to access. This is really just something very basic to get you to be able to enumerate shares. Size. Okay, I think this could work. Small is beautiful. Libsmb2 is small. This is wrong. When I did this, I forgot to compile with a -OS. I compiled with -02. It's actually about 124 kilobyte, the full library. So we can have a look at them. At the top there, we say, 129 kilobyte. Okay, this is not very accurate. It's accurate enough. It's close enough, but it's just stripping them. Of course, when you link to it, it will actually be smaller because you are probably not calling every single function that I provide. So in most cases, it will take a little less than that. What we do see, however, we can look at DCERPC. So we have the file DCERPC.o, that's 7.8K, and DCERPC SRV-SVC, another 2.5K. So roughly just over 10 kilobyte is just wasted for us to be able to enumerate the shares. That would be nice if we had a way to just say, okay, I don't need share enumeration, so compile it without this support. So I get 10 kilobyte more memory. Yes, Jeremy?
So what if people ask you to say, oh, show me who owns an empty apple? Would you be willing to add a SID to name lookup, or is that something that's like, oh, use someone else's library?
So Jeremy was asking, would I be willing to add a hook or a method to do SID to name lookups? I assume you're basically asking, well, can we plug this into WinBind? Something similar.
No, I'm just wondering if you're running this in standalone and someone gets an empty apple back, you're going to get raw SIDs.
Yes.
You might want to have a pretty name to display.
Yes. I'm absolutely happy to do that. The only thing that would be necessary would be to make it optional for the compile fails. So that I want to do that to the rest of the library as well, so that you can actually strip it down to fit it into smaller and smaller devices. So even the current implementations, I would like to make it more modular, so you can get rid of DCERPC. So you have a footprint of the binary of 115K instead of 125K. If we look at all the crypto, you have AES 128 CCM, that's almost 2K. The AES primitives, HMAC, the Kerberos wrapper, MD4, MD5, NTLMS, the different SHA hashes, etc. I think the crypto stuff takes up roughly 40 kilobyte of code. If we got rid of signing, sealing, and also authentication, and only depending on authenticating as guest or anonymous, that would mean we would be down at roughly 65 to 70 kilobyte would be the object size of the library. And now we are rapidly approaching the possibility to run it on really small devices, which would be very, very nice. Imagine having a tiny Internet of Thing sitting somewhere in your house, and it can actually do SMB2 to write logs or data. Yep, I need to speed up. Okay. So yeah. Man, I thought this would only take like 10 minutes because I don't really have much content. So, and I would like to try to have a very, very long question and answer. So sorry about that. So as I said, if we make this optional, if we can get the library in the current form down to, say, 65 kilobyte, that would be good. Maybe we can get it even smaller, which would be even better. Look, I'm not targeting you. If you have your laptop, you have an infinite amount of CPU, an infinite amount of memory, an infinite bandwidth. This is not for you. This is for you if you have a budget of maybe 150 kilobyte of object space and maybe 100 kilobyte of memory or RAM for the actual data. This is where I'm aiming. small enough for IoT and microcontrollers. Some users, VLC, everyone used VLC. They were very hard to deal with because they would always come and say, yeah, guys, you can't use OpenSSL, we can't use it then, so you have to write your own crypto. And they said, oh, no, we can't use the NTLM SSP Mech plugin for Kerberos because it has the wrong license. So you have to write your own NTLM implementation as well. And yeah, very, very, very annoying, a lot of work, but it turned out it's a better library thanks to their very, very unreasonable demands. They are very, very happy because now they can ship on all platforms, and they have the same SMB implementation across all platforms. They don't have different APIs or libraries on the different platforms. And they can provide it on every platform they support. Blah, blah, blah. We use SMB because of my mobile and iOS and Mac OS and other things. I don't know if that's accurate or not, but at least Thomas says that their install base for Libsmb2 is about 150 million installs. Kodi probably has about the same installs. So if I'm reaching about right now with these two apps, about 300 million installs, it's probably only Microsoft's implementation that have more client installs than I have, I guess. I mean, there are not 300 million Mac OS clients, is there? Linux is like 1% of the desktop market. There are definitely not 300 million Linux boxes. So that's pretty cool for a one-man hobby project that aims at sub 100 kilobyte devices to have 300 million, to be the second largest SMB client that there is. So Microsoft should look out, because this happened in about 2 years. So if we extrapolate to 10 years, I will have more installs. But the coolest project ever, ESP32, is a microcontroller, system on a chip. It comes with about 500 kilobyte of total RAM. And inside that, you have to fit whatever kind of kernel you have, the network stack, etc., your actual application, and Libsmb2. A really cool guy called Arno Puder did this and helped me with it. There's a link to the actual to the vendor of this microcontroller. 512K, that's small. Because he wanted to build a plug-in board to his Trash 80. And if we, almost all of you guys are, well, no, half of you are old enough, you know what the Trash 80 is. Yeah.
Sinclair.
Yeah. Yeah. This is his board. It plugs into his genuine Model 3 Trash 80. He controls it from the Trash 80, so he can run he can basically load games and ROM images from an SMB2 share into his real physical Trash 80. So think about that. There is at least one TRS-80 out there, physical one, that can load programs into memory from an SMB2 file server.
That's cheating.
Yes.
That's a coprocessor.
Well, it is, but it's still cool. I can't get it small enough yet to run it on the main CPU. But we're working towards it. But that is...
Offloaded SMB2. I
Yeah,
like it.
yeah. But you have to admit, this is so unbelievably mind-blowingly cool. There is a TRS-80 that can do SMB2. Yeah. So where is it? It's stored, the library is on GitHub. Please use it. How to contribute? Any way you want. Pull requests, if that's your thing. Send a patch directly to me with email. That's what. If the patch is broken, don't worry about it. I will fix it before I check it in. I have so few contributors that I can't really risk turning them away by saying you have to fix these bugs. Other projects have that luxury, not me. Or just send an email with a textual description of what the patch should look like, and then I will have to implement it, do it. So any way you want to contribute, that's fine.
If my dog barks at it, can I send that to you too?
I'll try to do my best to translate that into a patch and check it in. So I like to say that this is probably the easiest and lowest threshold project you've ever encountered to contribute to. No matter how bad your patch is, or how badly formatted it is, or how broken it is, I will take it, I will fix it. So why use it? License, portability, size, and coolness. Roadmap, 3.1.1 would be cool. Make it more modular. And that's it. Questions? Steve?
So talking about the modular stuff, you had added one RPC call, right? You have one RPC call now,
Yes.
and of course, I don't know, whoever.
Wait, sorry. Am I out of time?
Yes, but we're in a coffee break right now, so if people want to stay for a few minutes and ask questions, you're probably fine for.
Okay, I'll do that. Just wave to me when it's the hard deadline, hard break.
You may have to wrestle with poker for this day.
Yes.
So you added more RPC calls. Jeremy was probably coding them right now for the lookup SID by name, name by SID, whatever. But if we had a separate component within this for RPC calls, this would be unbelievably helpful, because then you could just mount IPC dollar with the kernel thing if you wanted, and use that library also for the kernel thing, for all the witness protocol, all the whatever RPC call is your favorite one.
No.
Having a separate little RPC-ish library component thing here would let you work over existing pipes.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
You can mount today and just open //server/
Yeah.
whatever pipe.
So I know you don't have a test framework. So,
Not yet. On my other projects, I have a very extensive test frameworks.
well, no, I was just going to say,
Yes.
do you want to piggyback on ours? Because we can set it up so that, we can basically pull your code,
Yeah.
compile it, and then run against as part of our.
Yeah, and migrating it to samba.org, that's actually something that would make a lot of sense. We'd have to set some ground rules, though, so that so that none of this stuff happens like, oh yeah, I need to do character conversion between different code sets. I just link with libicon, because it's easier than writing it, the code from scratch.
What I meant was making sure,
Yeah. Yeah.
that basically when we text it into Samba, we don't break libSMB2. So
Sure, absolutely, but I think it would make sense to move it to move the project completely to samba.org anyway. I think that would make sense. We can try to do that this week, maybe. Yeah. Just don't forget that the aim of this is not a full-blown SMB client. This is something that this tiny system on a chip that sits in this tiny whatever temperature meter or whatever, the Internet of thingy thing. Small, portable, and fast enough